Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I am Reverend Helen Burke, and I was going to say a few things by way of introduction that Cindy already said, so I'll tell you in case you're curious where I got that name Lady. And that is, I was christened in the Catholic tradition, Helen Milady Rose, Helen Milady Burke. And the Milady is my grandmother's maiden name. And my mother was a Helen, and she didn't want another Helen, and I became taller anyway. It would have been very confusing. But what's really very fun is that it wasn't until a few years ago I realized something magnificent. And that is, because I was Catholic, I was confirmed. And when you're confirmed in the Catholic Church, you are welcome to receive the name of a saint as inspiration for part of your name. So I chose the name Rose after my other grandmother, my father's mother. And a few years ago, I realized that because I kept my maiden name, my full name is my two grandmothers together, Helen Milady Rose Burke. So that's my full name. So I thought, that's a little tidbit. The other thing I wanted to say is thank you, Cindy, for inviting me here today. And also that Cindy also introduced me to the School of Sacred Ministries from where I became ordained. So that's another connection that we have. I spent my first years working in advertising sales, and the next 20 is as a hospice chaplain. I'm happily married with a large combined family, and I'm currently retired. As a Course in Miracles community, you are identifying yourselves as a circle dedicated to love, to union, and to the embodiment of the true self. While we may not individually, in every moment, be consciously employing these shared values, I know that I am still very much a work in progress. We do have the privilege of reminding each other who we are in truth through our interactions, our service, our creations, and our very beingness. It is in that spirit that I take a breath and offer some thoughts. Have you ever found that some years seem to bundle challenges together? Have you also not found that looking back, these same challenging years end up resulting in powerful, if not always pleasant, growth spurts in spiritual development? For many, if not most people, the last 2 years have been delivering not only bundled, but compounded challenges. I don't think any of us could say that we have been unaffected by turmoil. This year, my dear brother, Michael Burke, faced his final stages of a long illness. The spring months offered my siblings, my husband, and myself the beautiful opportunity to assist my sister-in-law with his care. This grew us all in unexpected ways. Unfortunately, once again, I discovered that there is no discount for hospice workers when it comes to having your heart broken and losing someone you love. On the night before Mike's funeral, my family was gathering and there was much coming, trips to the airport, ordering takeout, ironing church clothes, changing beds were all happening around me. As I made a final attempt in several days to contact my 93-year-old cousin on the phone. Getting no answer once again, I called the building manager and shortly thereafter received the terrible news that our dear Bridget was found on the floor and subsequently rushed to the hospital. The months following, I would say up until a few weeks ago, have been beyond difficult. Bridget came to the States from Ireland as a young woman when I was just a toddler. She lived in Philadelphia ever since, happily alone, and fiercely independent. Fiercely. We connected on a deeper level about 20 years ago when I was doing a chaplain residency at Church. She became my precious elder, and I became her weekly shopping buddy and next of kin. Her recent fall and subsequent hospitalizations, rehab experiences, and moves from one personal care facility to another presented more barriers to her peace than I can even imagine, and therefore deeply affected mine as well. Navigating this support role has been nothing short of impossible, as advocacy, respect, reason, empowerment, survival, common sense, and safety concerns collided each and every day. On one particularly exasperating day, at the peak of discord and confusion about next steps, a new outbreak of the virus on her floor complicated not only our choices for her care, but the very ability to communicate with each other in person about those choices. And she was unable to speak on the phone. Leaving the residence without seeing Bridget that day, I noticed a big signpost by the Sisters of the Holy Redeemer that said, "Take care, take courage, God is with you." I pulled over and had a good, long, overdue cry, as you can imagine. And interestingly, I knew, of course, that message was for me, but in that same moment, I knew it was also for you, because I had been invited to speak here, and I've been considering some other, despite the fact that I've been considering other ideas. My first effort to research the topic of courage in preparation for today was to access the crossover concordance of the Course in Miracles and A Course of Love. And I found no reference to the word courage in either volume. So if I'm mistaken about that, please let me know. I'm very curious that that word did not come up in either volume, the word courage. What I do know is that the word courage comes from the French word cœur, meaning heart. What else do we need to know about why we are drawn to courage? We are called to the heart time and time again through spiritual traditions throughout history. And of course, there are countless references to the heart in both A Course in Miracles and A Course of Love. The heart is the seat of that divine spark, the divine abiding love in each of us. It is the keeper of our knowing of our belovedness. And it is the home of our shared humanity. Who does not hurt who sees a brother or sister hurting? The heart is the energetic home of truth, where illusion and fear and separation from God and each other is unmasked and surrenders. Ken, your brother in the circle, Ken, was a big help to me. Thank you, Ken, in preparing to be with you today. He strongly suggested and encouraged me, there's the root word cœur, again, heart, encouraged me to incorporate my personal story in my remarks today and to explore where courage has been essential for me in my life. His suggestion made me think of this beautiful saying: if you are on the right path, it will likely be uphill. Love is anxious to lead us safely to higher ground. And so I got thinking about some previous remarkable years where challenges were bundled in my life, and I was led to new ground. Since childhood, I've enjoyed singing and acting. In my senior year of high school, I had two huge disappointments. I lost a big part in the high school musical, which I had been convinced since freshman year had my name on it. And then in summer, in summer theater, after the first set of performances, I was asked to forfeit one of my final performances to another singer who was deemed better for the role. These experiences offered me a deep dive into exploring self-worth, forgiveness, and team spirit. It was also one of the first times I remember being really, really, really angry. It took courage to not walk away, to hold my head up, to work through my anger and disappointment, and ultimately to contribute all I had to those two productions. On the other side of it, I had learned so much. How to ask for help from my singing teacher and my mom, how to express my feelings, how to nurture myself, and how to realize that there are unlimited ways of using our creative abilities. I remember telling my mom I grew up that year. In my late 20s, my father was in his final stages of cancer when I gave birth to our fourth child. The oldest was not yet 5. We had a tiny 2-bedroom home. Finances were very tight. And several of my siblings were also going through some challenging times. But despite its tiny size, I loved that my house served as the center of our larger family. Katie was born with several anomalies, and she was only 2 months old, still struggling to thrive, when my father died. My daughter died several months later at the wee age of 7 months, and our family was devastated. The courage it took to navigate that year and the several following is something I can neither describe nor measure, as I have no recollection of thinking in terms of courage at the time. Surely there was no possible figuring out the how or the why of these two losses being dealt so closely together. There were no answers to be found in the mind, but my faith in the example of my parents and everything good that went into my childhood led me to my heart for direction. There I would find strength. There I would find forgiveness and belonging and the belovedness that sustained me. The answers were in the heart. Courage was indeed the road I was traveling without knowing its name. The gold that came from that time was plentiful. To name only a few gifts, my other children learned about the beauty of people with special needs and never to judge others as less than. They began to learn that when things were hard, they had each other and a larger family to sustain them. I had my own lessons. Once again, I learned that no matter how committed I was to playing the role that I thought was given me, it could be changed at any time. I also discovered the true gift of my voice. My singing became a powerful instrument of my own healing, allowing complex grieving its full emotional expression. Ultimately, the most precious of gifts presented themselves slowly over time. My relationship with both my daughter and my father are still very quite active to this day across dimensions. In my late 30s, the third year of bundled challenges included my mother's death, a move from my home, and divorce. Once again, there was no thought to name that road I was on courage, but I had an even stronger conviction to follow the compass of my heart. True north was love, constantly pulling back from fear, which was fiercely competing at the other end of the needle. I am now 70, so I'm certain there have been plenty more calls to courage along the way. But upon reflection, working in hospice diminished focus on my own challenges significantly. People often say it must be so hard to work with the dying and those caring for them. But in fact, with the exception of close family and friends, it has never felt hard. As a student of a course of love, I found hospice to provide an ideal practicum. The course invites us to abide in union and relationship. Because I was part of a highly skilled, heart-centered care team, the support we were able to offer together was profoundly magnified. Patients and caregivers welcomed us with outrageous vulnerability at such a sacred time, and all of this was nothing less than miraculous. It is a profound privilege to witness the almost mandatory going to the heart that end of life requires of all involved. A little pink in my knee here, excuse me. There we go. No, it was really calling at me. No Irish jig today. I think we can all agree that we're currently in a time of great fear and polarity, when for and against energies can both deceptively and insidiously pull us away from unity consciousness into the need to be right. Remembering that love embraces fear is our only hope to stay on the road home to our mutual belonging. Courage calls us louder than ever before to return to the heart. It's even showing up on billboards, evidently. Courage to claim self as who I am in truth allows me to claim the same from my brother or sister. Courage to claim ourselves and all of our fellows as God's one holy Son empowers and emboldens us to advocacy for justice, for peace, for health for the planet, and every small turning or action that calls to each of us individually. Although these years seem to hold challenges in bigger and bigger bundles, we can trust that we are being led to higher ground. We can remember that the name of the road we are on is courage. The compass within, which we can never lose, is the heart. And true north is ever pointing to love. Thank you.